Okay, so this is the video on what you call the inner game of activism, or a bit of rogue Jedi mind training, body mind training, technically. So some really difficult stuff going on around the world in the UK and particularly the USA. And some friends of mine have said, look, why, instead of being critical, why don't you offer something useful, something helpful? And I thought, yeah, that's fair enough, actually, isn't it? That's fair enough. I imagine many of you know my work. So I work in kind of body mind field. I've done that for about 10 years in various guises, embodiment yoga, various kinds of psychology training, various kinds of things. I've worked in war zones with humanitarian aid workers. I've worked in big business. I've worked with activist groups of many kind, for example, Occupy, and right now I'm in Moscow, and I've worked here with LGBTQ groups quite extensively over the last 3 or 4 years. So, tried and tested stuff I want to offer you, used it myself, and many students working in different areas like body positivity or whatever that have used this stuff. So, where to begin? Where to begin? Looking at my notes here, I guess we do sort of a basic model of how we would develop ourselves as people. This is going to make us tremendously healthier, happier, more effective, more resilient in what we're doing, particularly if we're involved in something difficult or in a very difficult climate that exists in many places currently. I think in the past there was a way in which people put their stuff either outer or inner. So either it was like I meditate and I work on myself, but I ignore the world, or I'm out in the world and I'm not really interested in the inner game, the inner side of things. That's problematic, and I actually see the two coming together nicely now. So this is sort of part of that wider trend, we could say. So basic model to work on, we can think of Daniel Goleman's model of emotional intelligence. I think of it wider as embodied intelligence. We have self-awareness, we have self-regulation, we have social awareness, and we have social influence. So if you imagine those, we have self and other, and we have awareness and choice, awareness and influence. So these are the four kind of areas that we might want to work with if we're in an activist framework. It kind of begins with self-awareness. So knowing how you are in any moment, like your emotional state, you know, you don't want to be that guy saying, I'm not angry. Yeah. Knowing your character dispositions, your kind of wider kind of message you might be giving across just with your body, let alone your words, your tone, cultural awareness, etc. Key thing with this model from an embodiment point of view, this is about the subjective experience of the body, the idea that it's not just the mental game we're looking at here. It's practice, right? It's like, what do I want to practice? What do I want to build for the way of being that would support the activism I'm doing? Yeah, so specific skill sets, and slightly more abstractly, a specific way of being to look at. So looking at skill sets I really like, really practical. Can I self-regulate? Can I self-care? Can I self-express? Can I do these different particular skill sets? And bigger, what's my way of being? Because that is what is impacting on people, whether we're, really standing up to someone, or whether we're really trying to convince someone, or whether we're being very empathic, or whatever it is. Yeah. So, lots in this. This is going to be kind of an overview video, and then maybe we can tell me what you guys are interested in, what's useful. I would like genuinely to be useful, so tell me what's cool, what you want more of, and I can either point you to other videos, which you've got lots of free on YouTube, or I can do new videos. It's no problem, I don't mind doing it. It's just on my iPad, it's relatively straightforward. So, let's start with self-care. Absolutely the foundation. Can't help other people if you're not doing that. Putting your own oxygen mask on first, dedicating time and energy to self-care. I think of this as a commitment, because at some point it's like, we have to do this for the cause, for whatever it is, and it's like, well, hang on, coming back to self-care, the physical basics, the emotional self-care, there's things like meditation. I have a video on that. Basic exercise, basic well-being, which is the foundation of our psychological health, and also our effectiveness in whatever we're doing. So self-care as a commitment, and as a practice, like I like to have bubble baths. Obviously, sometimes in the field that's not possible, but when I can, and it could just be like taking a minute on my own, or eating some good food, or whatever it is. So other videos on self-care, well-being, that is the basis of resilience. People have been asking about self-soothing, because often this stuff's pretty stressful. I just had a fairly stressful online interaction actually just before this. I filmed myself a little bit shook up from it actually. It's been a big day in terms of debate and discussion and criticism. How do we self-soothe? Sometimes it's just that, like a breath, feeling the body, feet flat on the ground, relaxing the jaw, the eyes, peripheral vision, taking a belly breath. Yeah, maybe this kind of stroking, or just imagining a hand on the back of someone we care about. Relaxing this core, reminding myself what I'm committed to. looking around, seeing if there's allies around me. If there's not, imagining them, that hand on the back, what supports me, where do I come from? Whew, to be able to self-regulate in difficult times. Simple ones like let the tongue loose, let the belly loose from Paul Linden, one of my teachers in Ohio. Really useful there. There's many other techniques from yoga. Even just doing that now is a very quick exercise. It's like I feel more chilled in that. The other side of self-soothing, we could think of learning to be expressive with ourselves and awakening. Like the chest breath to wake up if we're tired, if we've been on the front lines for a long time. That could be very helpful. A simple one, water. And drinking a fluid, we can track that as it goes down. It's a good mindfulness practice, but it's also about tracking our awareness down. Often like stress is up. Now the stress fight flight freeze response is slightly individual. You can look at my videos on that, but often this kind of downwards movement is very helpful. Finding structural balance and kind of radiant, we might call it reaching out awareness. So self-soothing, look at my videos on centering and stuff for that. Loads more in there, but I hope that's a useful part. Yeah, connection to self, connection to others, to community, and connection to some sense of purpose or higher power, if that floats your boat. I think it's the three sort of levels that I did a video for the Moscow gay community on that, which they enjoyed a lot. Okay, embodied practices. So I'd say if I'm mostly thinking my side, dangerous way of thinking, but my side more from the sort of liberal side of things, the left kind of side of things, often what's missing is practices around discipline, around containment, around reowning strength and power. So for me, martial arts has been a great practice for building a lot of that stuff. For some people, it's yoga. I'd say, like, what are the practices and capacities that are missing? For some people, it is the empathy. They need to practice the non-violent communication or the listening, the softening, the opening. So there's that side of things too. You could think of it in terms of yin and yang. We have videos on, say, the 4 elements, where you're missing the grounded earthiness, the open water, that fierce fieriness, or the air kind of just going, fuck it, seeing the big picture, taking it lightly. That lightness is often missing from when we get very heavy around the cause, taking ourselves seriously rather than just what we're doing seriously. Lots of videos on the 4 elements, ways to build all of those, but that gives you a bit of a map maybe for what capacities in yourself might need to develop in any one moment, but also longer term through practices over time. Yes, we can shift state quickly, but under pressure we'll regress to sort of lower level ways of doing things. Okay, so what else? Talk about empathy, obviously massive here. Can we have empathy for those people we're disagreeing with, to see things from their point of view, both because it's just kind and nice. We have to spend less time in hate, which feels like a good fuel, but actually isn't. Burn you right out. Not a good fuel. A certain amount of anger can be. And also it helps us actually discuss things with people if we can see things from their point of view, maybe kind of actually get some behavioural change and influence them positively. In terms of practices of influence, what I'm talking about so far, like self-awareness and the state regulation, the empathy, that last category of social influence is really built on that. Okay, what else? Trauma work. So often there's a lot of trauma in these things, in these kind of activist type communities. Look at the stuff on trauma, because that can really get in the way of good listening or self-regulation or good community building. Because you can talk about communication skills, being able to make requests, being clear operational language for what you want. Practicing gratitude is another fantastic kind of personal or interpersonal thing to do to kind of build teams, build groups of people working on things. And then we can talk about the shadow work, so the kind of reowning your inner Trump or your inner Brexit or whatever, so that when we come to people, we're not all projecting a side of ourselves. So often the projections around power, sex, money, how are your relationships to those things? Often on the liberal left, it's not so good. So the relationship ends up being sort of toxic, or there's kind of projection that happens, which can make any meaningful dialogue difficult. So that is a massively quick, I tried to keep the 10 minutes overview of some of what we could call the inner game. Mention some practices, things like meditation, things like centering, longer term practices like martial arts, gratitude practices, these kind of things. Lots and lots of free videos and all those, so have a look. Or do tell me if you'd like something else. Tell me in the comments. Tell me, like, what do you want? What do you want? What would be helpful? I would like to be constructive and offer things to friends, students, and people who I just want to support all over the world, particularly in the States right now, who are really going through it. So yes, I can be critical of American culture, but I do want to offer something useful and of value.